Okay, we're back. I'm Adam.
I'm Dan.
And we are here to review Infinity War. Avengers Infinity War.
Avengers Infinity War.
So, I don't really know how to start. I'll start this off by saying I love the first Avengers. Everyone holds it in very high regard. But I just think it's a very enjoyable film. I wasn't in love with it, how everyone was back in the day. Age of Ultron, I was not impressed with, and neither was pretty much everybody who saw it. It was one of those things where like everyone who when they first saw it was like, "Oh, this is great," and then like after like a day or two when they thought about it, they're like, "Yeah, it wasn't that great." And then the real Avengers 3, in my opinion, Civil War was amazing.
Right.
You know, I love Civil War. So the point is that everything in the MCU up to this point has been building up to this. We have gotten nothing but teases and fucking references and fucking foreshadowing to this fucking movie. And to say that this is not the most anticipated superhero movie of potentially all time is kind of an understatement.
Right.
This was, at least now, the most anticipated superhero film of all time. And I have to say, after watching it and being anticipated by it and walking out of it, I will say they did a damn good job. Not a great job, but a good job.
Like, I mean, you know, I would honestly argue Thanos might be the main character of this movie.
Yeah, I would say he pretty much almost is. I was surprised on how much we actually spend time-wise with Thanos in the movie. There is a lot of backstory, a lot of getting to know him, which I absolutely loved. I thought that was great because that's one of my biggest complaints of a lot of the Marvel films is that we don't really get to know the villains that much, and they kind of just show up and then just kind of go away.
Yeah, and so very much this is their best villain, and they treated him respectfully, and they gave him exactly what we needed to see.
Yeah, and he's a fucking badass. He's not someone to mess with. You get the sense when he's there, like, oh shit, like they need to fucking team up and they need to beat the shit out of this, and even that might not be enough. Josh Brolin gives a fantastic performance as Thanos, and even though I harp on like you could do things with makeup, which I understand why they couldn't do it makeup and everything.
No, there's really nothing in it like that. That would be one negative. There's really nothing he does in the movie that you couldn't have done with.
Yeah, you could have done makeup and prosthetics and camera work, but they decided to do completely CGI, but it's some of the best CGI that they have done. Not just in this film, but in films in this universe, but in films general, it's some of the best CGI work I've seen.
He's not like pure evil, like he's just a darkness in the universe. Yeah. He is a man motivated by passion. Yeah. And that passion comes from emotion. So it's a thing.
But I absolutely love the action in this film. There is not a moment in this film where it kind of in the point where it's like there's just nothing but exposition for a long time, and then you get an action sequence. Like, no, it's kind of like one action sequence almost to the next.
Right.
This film is like nearly 3 hours long almost, and it's
a thrilling 3 hours.
It is, and there's just a shit ton of fucking action in it, and there's always shit going on too. There's no downside.
That's the thing. Even when there's not action, like there is exposition, there's talking. But even then, like, it's fast-paced, but it's interesting. It's not just technobabble. Yeah. It's not just, two characters like, oh, I have feelings. Like, there's interesting dialogue. They intersperse jokes just right. It's not too funny, but it's not too serious. And it's fast-paced. It's fun to listen to.
And then it was just awesome just to see characters that we never got to see interact with each other before, finally now interacting with each other. Like Star-Lord with Tony Stark.
That was great.
Spider-Man with fucking Doctor Strange. Steve Rogers meeting Rocket Raccoon for the first time, stuff like that. Like, all that shit was fantastic, and they weren't all done in like this way of like, oh, who are you? It's like, no, like there's an action sequence and they're fucking fighting, and all of a sudden, like, Steve Rogers, sees
a raccoon
riding a tree, and he sees Groot, and it's like, I am Groot. He's like, I'm Steve Rogers. Like, it's stuff like that where it's like, it works. It works because it's like they're not stopping and taking away from what's going on just so we can see these guys meet. They're all kind of just like, at this point they're like, talking tree and a raccoon isn't the worst, isn't the most
it's not the greatest thing I've seen today.
Yeah. So it's like to them they're just like, I guess this is why not? And that was a lot of fun, and there's a lot of... Now, even though this film is very dark at times, which I would say probably out of all the MCU films, this is probably the darkest one, but it does make time for the comedy. Now, some of the negatives and the nitpicks, which there are some, but not to a big detriment for the film, though, but, we're doing a review, so we have to mention them.
Sure.
One is the children of Thanos. With all the bad guys that are doing Thanos.
Oh, yeah, the bad guys that aren't Thanos himself.
Yeah, basically. They all look awesome. They are, what the hell is that guy's name? I want to say Maw, but that was his name.
Ebony Maw.
Ebony Maw. Like, he was fucking cool.
Yeah, he had this menace to him. Yeah, he was all smooth and sleazy.
He was creepy looking and shit. He just looked badass. Like, to the point where it's like, he could have been a bad guy in a different Marvel movie.
Yeah, you could have had him as a lead bad guy in something, yeah.
And, he was cool, and, I unfortunately, I don't know all their names, but they all looked cool. They all looked like, hey, these are big, menacing guys. Like, not only do we have Thanos, but we have these fucking people to deal with. And you sit there in the movie, you're thinking to yourself, awesome, we're going to get to see these guys, basically be the appetizer to Thanos. Basically, they're going to come in and fuck everything up, and then they're going to, fight really hard to beat these guys, and then all of a sudden, now Thanos comes, and now they're, they're going to be beat down, and be like, oh, fuck, now we got to do this. No. They're all kind of useless. They do nothing.
It's not that they do nothing, it's that, they are presented as a challenge, but then, unfortunately, when the time comes for them to be beaten, they're just sort of cast aside.
They kind of are. They seem like they're gonna be these big deals.
Yeah.
But they're really not. So that was disappointing for me. That's probably my biggest one is that complaint. But other little nitpicks I'll make here or there. These are the nitpicks and the things that the MCU fanboys will fucking hate me for and shit like that. And a friend of ours already was bitching at me when I started pointing these out. Is just the little things where it's even though we did mention they focus on Thanos a lot, and you could, you said, you could argue this is Thanos' film.
Yeah.
Okay. But when it comes to balancing the characters out, this is really the Tony Stark, Doctor Strange, Thor, and some of the Guardians show.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
And that's a little, now, in a way, it's I do like these characters, so I'm glad that they did get a lot of screen time and we spent a lot of time with them. But at the same time, we had just saw a Guardians movie and we had just saw a Thor movie last year.
Yeah.
These people are fresh in our heads.
It's been a couple of years since Captain America.
It's been a while since Captain America. I've seen Captain America. It's been a while since I've seen Scarlet Witch and Vision. It's been a while since I saw fucking Winter Soldier. We had just seen Black Panther. And Black Panther's barely in the movie.
Yeah.
Almost. I mean, he's in it, but, he doesn't really do anything. He doesn't really... There's no big moments with him, really, except for the fact that they're going to fight in Wakanda.
Yeah.
And, it's cool. Cap makes a great appearance when he first shows up.
Mm-hmm.
He makes this awesome appearance, but then, as the movie goes on, it's he doesn't really do much. We don't spend a lot of time with him.
Especially when you're talking about, the Avengers, both the comics and the movies. How Cap is so important to them.
Yeah.
And then in this movie, which is, technically there's the next one coming out next year, but this is the culmination, the centerpiece, and then Captain America is just sort of there.
And one of my biggest problems that I had when I mentioned this, and our friend was fucking giving me shit when I mentioned it, was there's no good scenes or a connection between Bruce Banner and Black Widow. We teased this love story with them for the whole Age of Ultron, right? Which granted now has been several years ago, and now this is the first time we're seeing them getting back together, being in the same fucking scene in the same movie,
being on the same planet.
Yeah, and it's kind of just this awkward, hey, right, and that's something they played with. I would like to see that expanded upon, and it wasn't whatsoever. And it's just little things like that bother me. And then also Scarlet Witch and the Vision was the biggest problem with me. Because they established, we knew in Civil War that they kind of had a thing, that maybe they like each other and shit. And we haven't seen them since that movie. And then within this movie, they have that relationship now. And it's basically shown to us that they are in love with each other. And one of the biggest things when they talk about, because he has the Mind Stone and eventually Thanos is going to come after and shit like that. And one of the things is they take him to, that's why they take him to Wakanda, because they're trying to figure out how to
get the stone off
get the
him
stone
without
out of
losing
him. Yeah, without losing him. And they realize that the only Avenger who's strong enough to destroy the stone, if need be, is Scarlet Witch. And it's like, that's a really heavy thing. That's a heavy moment between two people who love each other, and like the one guy who's like, I have what Thanos wants, and the only person who could basically destroy it, in result possibly destroying me, is the woman I love. That's fucking great. That's drama, and they do nothing with it. Because like that little bit that we see of them like together, like in like the little apartment or whatever they are in the beginning of the movie, and then up into near the end, which I'm not going to spoil, but near the end when we see them again, there's nothing between them after that. So it's like when that moment comes when she might possibly have to make that decision, I don't give a shit because I didn't see any part of their relationship. And it's like, I would have liked maybe a little more devotion towards that maybe, so that way when that scene comes up, it's a big moment for us. Instead of, 30 minutes of fucking Thor making his hammer. Which that was another big problem with me. He goes there with Rocket and Groot, and it's like, they meet the dwarf who's played, who surprisingly ends up being played by Peter Dinklage, which nobody knew. I didn't know he was going to be in the movie, so that was a cool surprise to see him play the dwarf, the lone dwarf on this planet.
It was a surprise. It was also kind of a meta joke because he's a little person playing a dwarf, but the dwarf is huge.
Yeah, the dwarf is huge. So that was cool, that was fun, but like, Thor gets there and like he gives this whole all the dwarves are dead or something. I don't know.
Except for him. Yeah,
except for him, and he talks about how he needs to make this hammer that could kill Thanos, and he tells him basically Stormbreaker is the best one. That's the thing you have to make, and it's like, oh, but you got to power the, what was it?
The dying neutron star.
The dying neutron star. You got to power that in order for us to melt the metal. And it's like, okay, so it's fucking 5 to 10 minutes of them doing that, and then it's like, oh, like the wind, like the gate isn't open or whatever. Like it has to shoot through.
Thor has to open it.
So Thor has to open that, and that's like another 5 minutes. And the entire time we're watching this, now this is going back and forth, like through, like we're cutting to this while other stuff is happening that we keep going to. And the entire time I'm like sitting there thinking to myself, well, they're building this up. Like Thanos or somebody has to show up, like interrupt them or come at the end. Something has to happen. And at the end, it's just, nope, made my hammer. And I'm sitting there going like, there was no conflict there. Like, what was the point of that? Like, they could, like, people, like, again, the same friend who was in the car with us complained about the Canto Bite scene in The Last Jedi serving no purpose, okay? This didn't serve a purpose. I mean, granted, he made the hammer, but you can make that scene in 5 minutes. It didn't need to be this long, dragged out thing.
And more to the point of, like, how I agree that they could have done more with Vision and Scarlet Witch, but at least there was something there. This hammer comes out of nowhere. There was no reference to Stormbreaker in any of the other movies. It was not a name that came up. It wasn't a legend or anything. Like, it's just like Thor needs a new hammer, they need a weapon to fight Thanos, and he knows people who can make weapons that kill gods. So he's like, well, we're gonna go there, and then. But, like, this has never been mentioned before. Like, we had Mjolnir, and they are the ones who made Mjolnir, it's established now, but that had never come up before. Yeah. So it's like, this was something that we're being introduced to, and so, like, on the one hand, I get that they kind of want to build up the process and, like, show us the impressive process going into it, but on the other hand, it's like, but I don't care.
I mean, I'm not gonna say it didn't make sense, but it was like, at the end, it was showy for no reason. Yeah. It was just this long, drawn-out scene for no reason, and, like, I could go on, like, there's a couple scenes like that also that I could talk about, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave that as the example, because going into some other ones would be spoilers.
Yeah, like basically, what the point is, there are parts that are drawn out too much and parts that could have been done better. Yeah. And basically the best stuff was Thanos, weirdly enough. Mm-hmm. But, like, the best character development. Some of the others you wish they had pulled back on. Some of the others you wish we had seen more. Yeah. Like Cap. I think deserve more. Granted, because there is the next one coming out, maybe they're saving that for that one.
Maybe
I don't know. But the problem is, like, they didn't really give any hints to what that's going to be either. Yeah. And that's part of the problem too. If they had, like, given a thread that, like, we know is going to be picked up in the next one, I'd be like, okay, I see what they're doing. Yeah. But no Cap just sort of sat there in the background for most of the movie. And there are some issues, but, like, when you have this many characters, when you have this many storylines, converging and meeting up, and whether they're completed or not, they're still meeting up and moving to a new stage. And like when you have that much, things are gonna, nothing can be perfect. It's too much working all at the same time. And so nothing's gonna be perfect. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10 because it was solidly entertaining, great action, and despite a few minor hiccups, like the atmosphere was correct. It gave this sense of foreboding throughout, the sense of like, Thanos is here now. Like, it's not we're building to Thanos. He's here. Stuff's happening, and it's the end.
I love the action in the film. I loved, like, even the comedy that was there was really great. Josh Brolin as Thanos was amazing. And this is, like we said, this is Thanos' movie. Yeah. It's not really the Avengers movie. It's Thanos' movie. Even though I like this movie a lot, it definitely feels more like the ending of a series, like a season finale, than an ending, because we do have a fourth one coming out. Yeah. And like you were talking about the emotion you get at the end. Yeah. The only thing I'll say for that is like it was a nice change of pace for basically the film to have, I'll just say, a downer ending. Yeah. But a downer ending doesn't automatically mean it's going to be great. No. Because that was the other thing our friend said was it's got a downer ending. It's fantastic. It's like Empire, because Empire had a down ending. And you look at him, you're like, you don't understand Star Wars if you think Empire's the best just because it had a downer ending. Right. Like, that's not what makes that possibly the best Star Wars movie.
Last Jedi had a downer ending. Yeah. And he didn't like that one.
Yeah. So it's like that's not what makes it good. I will say that I love the change of pace that we do get, like, kind of a downer ending, or I want to say downer, but like open ending, basically, where it's like we know it's not done, and it does get emotional, but at the same time, it's kind of this like emotional like weight that you get, that you first get like as you see it, but then as you walk out, you realize like, well, there's gonna be a fourth one, so like things I'm sure are gonna work out for everybody. But I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. I think it's highly entertaining. I think it's definitely great. It's definitely something you need to go see on the big screen. Is it the best Marvel film? No. In my opinion, it's not. I still would say I still love the first two Guardians more than this. I still love Thor Ragnarok more than this. I'd even say I probably even love or like Civil War more than this. But it's one of the best ones that they've done. It's one of the more entertaining ones, and I absolutely liked it. So that's going to be it for this review. So to recap, we both give it an 8 out of 10. We both say definitely go check it out. So that's going to do it for this review. So please thumbs up the video if you like it. Please subscribe to our channel. And please leave a comment. Let us know what you guys thought of Avengers Infinity War. Alright, that's going to do it for this review. And we are going to be back with
Deadpool 2.
Deadpool 2.